and welcome to Chisme del Cielo, where we talk about the only gossip worth sharing, the good news. I'm your host, Yahaira Valenzuela, and today I want to talk about something that I feel like every Catholic needs to hear. We need to become our Catholic abuelitas. Like, yo, I say that y parece chiste, but I truly mean it. This has been something that has been heavy on my mind just because I keep on catching myself saying things that I grew up hearing, whether it be from my mom or, my grandmas. Things like gracias a Dios and Dios te bendiga and si Dios quiere, like God willing, all of these things that I used to like low-key make fun of as a kid growing up. My cousins and my siblings and I would be low-key making fun of our grandmas and our parents, our moms, for saying these things, but now I say them unironically, and it's because the more that I grow in my faith, the more that I see, like, this, it just comes out naturally, guys. Like, I truly am, like, I say God bless you, and I mean God bless you. I want him to bless you, and these are all things that particularly our grandmas would always say when we were growing up. And so I just think, like, it's so funny because now that's me. And when I think about it, the first thing I think, like, as soon as it comes out of my mouth, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such a señora. But the reality is that we should all be those señoras, like, not just women, like, guys, we all gotta be acting like that because our grannies were onto something, whether we want to accept it or not. And I know you know the ones I mean, the grandmas in our lives who are the backbone of the parish, and they're there early and they veil at mass, siempre traen el rosario in their purses, their houses low-key look like shrines, and they respond to every prayer like the priest is speaking directly to them. I know you know. And somewhere along the way, like I said, we started thinking these things were just quirks of old ladies at church, but no, these are Catholic things. And to take it a step even further, these are saint-making things. And if we really want to grow in holiness, we should all be imitating them, guys, because, like I said, our grannies, they're onto something. I think that it's really beautiful, the traditions that that we grew up in because of our grandmas. And the second that we start to appreciate them for what they are is the second that we're truly walking towards holiness, right? So I want to talk about, I kind of made a list of 4 main things that our grandmas would do growing up that I'm sure we've all seen, and just wanted to back them up with scripture and tell you why basically I think that you should be doing them too. So let's get into it. Starting with number 1, I want to talk about veiling at Mass. I personally started veiling back in January, so I've been veiling for about 8 months now, and it has been truly transformational for me because it's helped me truly humble myself before him, whether it be at Mass or in prayer at adoration. To me, it's a sign of, it's my inward devotion being shown in an outward way, and I think it's really beautiful. And I remember when I first started veiling, I was like a little iffy about it, mainly because really the only people I had ever seen veiling were the old ladies at church. Like, growing up, that's what I would see a lot, especially in Mexico, right? And you've seen it, as the mass is about to begin and your abuelita's reaching into her little bag and she pulls out her lace mantilla. And it was no fuss, it was no show, like, it wasn't anything crazy. It was straight up just reverence. And that's how it should be. St. Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 11, "That is why a woman ought to have a veil on her head, because of the angels. It's a sign that heaven is present at the Mass." And the Catechism says that bodily demeanor, so our gestures, our clothing, ought to convey the respect, solemnity, and joy of this moment when Christ becomes our guest. And y'all, our abuelitas get this. Their veil is like a little halo reminding them, and obviously us, that we are truly in the presence of the Lord. I remember being little growing up and watching my grandma adjust her veil. And she wasn't doing it because anyone told her to. She straight up just did it because she knew she was standing before her king. And I never got that until now, now that I'm veiling too. But that's the kind of reverence we should all want to imitate. Veil or not, because if you don't feel called to veil, don't do it, right? Like, it's not a trend. And obviously, if you're a man, you're not going to veil. But in some way, shape, or form, or whatever the saying is, like I said, that's the kind of reverence we should all want to imitate. So it's definitely something to reflect on and obviously look into if it's something you feel called to do. But yeah, I actually prayed over it. I wanted to share obviously a little bit about my personal journey with veiling, but I prayed over it for over a year. Like, I was thinking about it and I prayed over it until I finally decided to do it. So it's definitely something that is not like a overnight transformation, but definitely something worth praying over and spending time reflecting on. But yeah, I'm actually really excited because, like I said, when I first started veiling, the only examples of veiling I had were older women at church, and now I'm kind of seeing it on the rise again, right, on the come up. And I think it's truly beautiful. To me, it's such a great way to honor our Mother Mary and be more like her. And I think it's such a beautiful tradition that mainly only older Catholic women have, but I'm starting to see a lot more young women veiling, and I would love to see more, so join me. Also feel free to ask me any other questions you might have, but I feel like that kind of sums it up for me. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was decorating the home with Catholic things. And this is a big one, because if you step into any abuelita's home, you're immediately gonna know that you're in a Catholic space. There's a crucifix over every doorway and every room. La Virgen de Guadalupe is in the kitchen, candles everywhere. You might even see a palm branch from Palm Sunday tucked behind a picture frame somewhere. And you guys, this actually goes all the way back to Deuteronomy 6, where God says, "You shall write my words on the doorposts of your house and on your gates." And our abuelitas are truly living that command. I'm telling you, they know what they're doing, guys. It's almost like they've lived life and know things. But the Catechism also says that sacramentals, which are holy objects and images, prepare us to receive grace and sanctify the circumstances of life. That's exactly what a home full of Catholic things does. It sanctifies ordinary life. I can still see my grandma's living room, like, even if I haven't been there in forever, I can see it, guys, because I'm sure you can too. But every wall had a saint watching over it. And as a kid, I reflect back, and I think that it always made me feel like heaven was close. And that's exactly what the saints and sacramentals in our homes are supposed to do. Not just for us, but for everyone who walks through our doors. I remember a couple of months ago, I was listening to a podcast, and she said that when somebody walks into your house, like, they should be able to tell that you're Catholic. Granted, if you're inviting someone over to your house, then they probably already know that you're Catholic because they should know you pretty well if they're coming to your home. But that's besides the point, right? And I remember when she said that, it really stuck with me because I was like, okay, yeah, if I walked into my parents' house, I would definitely know that they're Catholic. Obviously, when I walk into my grandma's houses, like, I know that they're Catholic. And I was like, okay, so that's the goal, right? Like, I'm carrying on with tradition. So whenever I have my own home, I also want people to know that I'm Catholic. And I think that's a little, not hard per se, because if you want to do it, you'll make it happen. But it's not exactly in right now just because everyone wants an aesthetic home that matches the theme. But my tip to you is pick Catholicism as your theme. Now, I think there's a lot of modern companies and brands that are making such beautiful, like, aesthetic Catholic pieces and sacramentals that you can put in your home. So it's definitely super doable, even if you are trying to stick to a certain aesthetic. So yeah, I think they knew what they were doing when they were decorating their homes, and you should look to them for inspo because, I don't know, I think it looks really cool and beautiful to see the walls filled with Catholic things. So that's definitely something I want to incorporate into my future home. Number 3 feels like a given, but I want to talk about praying the rosary daily. Because y'all know you can't talk about abuelitas without talking about El Rosario. Some of them even have rosaries so worn out that the beads are smooth or even broken because they've prayed them so much. And guys, like, that's life goals right there. I'm not saying I want to break my rosary, but I am saying that for someone to be able to look at my rosary and be like, oh yeah, this thing has been well used, like, that's amazing. I'm trying to be like that for real. But St. Paul tells us in 1 Thessalonians 5, pray without ceasing. This is such a powerful scripture, like a powerful verse that I think we should all kind of low-key memorize because it's super short, 3 words, pray without ceasing. But the rosary is one of the best ways to do that because you're literally walking with Mary through the mysteries of Christ. You're reflecting on his life, and that's wow. The Catechism calls the rosary an epitome of the whole gospel. That means that in those beads, you're holding the gospel story in your hands. And that, again, wow. Like, I don't even know what else to say on that. The saints knew the power of it too. Padre Pio called the rosary the weapon for our times. I'll never forget the sound of my grandma praying the rosary at night. It was so steady, like a heartbeat. And when I was a kid, I didn't get it. I thought it was boring. And actually, shout out to my mom. I feel so bad because I brought this up the other day, but when we were younger, she would, at one point, she would make our family, I say make, and that sounds really horrible, but she low-key would. She would, like, force our family to pray the rosary together once a week. And I think it's so silly looking back because we used to complain, like, y'all, we dreaded that day. My siblings and I, we were not trying to do all that. It was so boring to us. And now I have all these regrets in me because I'm like, oh my gosh, all those, like, rosaries I was forced to pray, and looking back, I'm like, that's so embarrassing of me. Like, why was I feeling that way about it? Like, that's not good. God forgive me. But yeah, I think my mom knew what she was doing, and she obviously got it from someone. And our grannies know what they're doing by praying it. Like, the rosary is so powerful, and eventually I'm gonna probably make an episode about Mary and the rosary as well, but not today. So back to what I was saying. Yeah, I have been praying it every day, and it has been, again, like, I feel like I say this a lot, but so life-changing for me. So I definitely recommend it. Sorry to my mom because I have regrets. I should have appreciated her more at the time, but I appreciate it now, so I think that's what counts. But yeah, now I realize, like I said, that the rhythm, the faithfulness, it was shaping her heart, right? My mom's heart, my grandma's hearts, and our families. Our abuelitas know that the rosary isn't just a devotion. It's protection, it's formation, and it's love in action. And that's why we all need to pick up those beads daily. So take this as your sign to start at least attempting to pray the rosary every day, because you will see the way that Mary intercedes for you, and the way that praying it every day is just going to strengthen you so much spiritually, guys. Like, it is truly, truly such a good weapon. I promise. So, yeah, this is your sign. Start praying the rosary more. Okay, so the last and fourth thing I wanted to talk about is responding and singing at Mass. And so just to give some context, I think this is actually like the main one that I wanted to talk about when I first had the idea for this episode, because the first time that I guess I could say I felt like a Catholic abuelita was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think. I want to say it was like during Lent. It was one of the holy day of obligation masses. I don't think it was Ash Wednesday, but I truly don't remember. But what I do remember is that because it was a holy day of obligation, it was super packed, and we kind of had to be like outside, so we didn't get to sit or anything. And I remember it was packed outside too, but you could faintly hear the priest, and whenever it came to, you know, all those responses that we have to do at mass, nobody was responding except for me. And at first, like, I was low-key a little bit embarrassed, and I was like, should I be quiet? Like, should I just not respond? Should I respond in my head? You know, I wasn't really sure what to do because nobody was responding, but I also knew that we're supposed to respond. And so I was like, okay, being embarrassed at mass is not the move. Like, I know that's not the right thing to do. So I just kept on going. But I remember after, I was like, wow, I don't know when I became like a señora, right? That I'm the one that's out here like responding to everything and stuff. But that's kind of the thing that I base this episode around, because our abuelitas, they're never, ever silent spectators at mass. They're always the ones saying every response out loud, sometimes even louder than the microphone. And that's exactly how I felt that day. So I definitely needed to touch on this. But, you know, they sing every verse of the hymn, even if they can't carry a tune. And I know you know what I'm talking about, because sometimes, you know, singing is not, it's a gift. It's a gift. It doesn't come to everybody. But that's not even the point, right? Like, God does not care what we sound like at Mass. That is not the point. And scripture tells us in Colossians 3:16, sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. And Psalm 100 says, make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Emphasis on all, not just our grannies. The Catechism reminds us that we are not supposed to be strangers or silent spectators at Mass. So our participation, our responses, our singing, it's all part of the liturgy, guys. So not doing it is actually low-key, like, very wrong. But as St. Augustine said, he who sings prays twice. And I'll be honest, when I was younger, I, like, not always, because, like I said, I actually grew up really involved with the church, and I liked being Catholic. So it wasn't, like, anything crazy, but sometimes I would roll my eyes at my grandma for singing so loudly, because I'd be like, all right, girl, like, not too much on that. But now I get it. She wasn't embarrassed, and she wasn't worried about sounding perfect, because she was just praising her God with her whole heart. And that's what all of us should be doing too. Period. I got, like, nothing else to say on that, because that's pretty straightforward, y'all. So, in conclusion, here's the point, you guys. Veiling, decorating our homes with Catholic reminders, praying the rosary, singing and responding at Mass, none of this is just for grandmothers. These are Catholic practices for every baptized person. Whether we realize it or not, our abuelitas have been quietly showing us how to live the faith with reverence, with devotion, with joy. They understand that faith isn't something private. It's something embodied, spoken, sung, displayed, and lived out in the ordinary. So maybe the call for us today is this. Stop thinking these are old lady things, because I'm guilty of the same thing, the same thoughts. But start realizing that they're actually saint things. And to become more Catholic is, in a very real way, to become more like our Catholic abuelitas. So, with that said, let's continue to learn together. Let's grow together, and let's be saints together. God bless y'all. If you're as excited for this podcast as I am, please give me a follow, leave a review or a comment or whatever it is that people leave on podcasts. And of course, please continue to pray for me as we embark on this journey together. God bless you all, and stay tuned.